You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
I'm not going to comment on an internal staff meeting. I'm not going to validate a leak one way or the other out of an internal staff meeting.
The White House refuses to comment on an aide joking about Senator John McCain dying. Is this a new low for the Trump administration? Plus, the United States pulls out of the Iran deal. What does this mean for our relationship with other countries? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the week in Washington in a moment, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. Hope you have a great Mother's Day weekend. It may be rainy, but our love for you will shine down. We are in store for rain, but Bob Harrigan joins us live with the First Alert forecast. Bob.
Yeah, let's not you say that rain's going to wash everything out, but it is going to be, unfortunately, not the best weekend for moms out there, but happy Mother's Day anyway. It looks like we are going to see some clouds on Saturday. That's the good part of the weekend, I believe. Saturday will be the day that we'll see just mainly clouds around. There's a chance for a few showers scattered about in the afternoon, but I don't think we're seeing any washout on Saturday. Sunday, a different story now. This is one particular model showing what's going to be happening on Sunday, and you'll see an upper level low is approaching from the southwest, and then we have a line of low pressure moving in from the southeast. They're all going to kind of converge right over the top of us. Saturday, 2 p.m., not indicating any rainfall around, but near, and then some showers maybe Sunday morning down to our south. Now, this may be a little overdone. Sunday morning, we'll have a 40% chance for showers, but then it really peaks up by the afternoon. The yellow that you see there could be thunderstorms. I do believe we're going to see some heavy rainfall, too. So that's good news for the high fire danger and the love bugs, because the rain actually washes the love bugs out a little bit. So that's good news. And it looks as though that rain sticking around, too, throughout most of the afternoon and evening. That's right, we could see up to 1 to 2 inches in spots, and guess what? This is not leaving. It's going to stick around right through Tuesday as we move through time. So keep your umbrellas handy through the early part of next week, and you can see that upper low kind of spinning away off to the north. It fills up. It still leaves behind a trail of moisture right over our coast. More on that coming up in a few minutes. Alan?
Bob, as you mentioned, it's springtime. Love is in the air, and it is messing up our windshields like never before. Sarasota County Mosquito Management says there are a larger population of love bugs flying around this season compared to years in the past. According to Mosquito Management, the bugs are harmless, and they help the ecosystem by eating decaying plant matter. They only live about a week, but they certainly make their presence known.
It's a part of living in Florida now, just like we have to deal with hurricanes and heat and alligators. Add love bugs to the list.
Mosquito Management recommends spraying a solution made of 1 part dish soap and 10 parts water to get rid of love bugs. Pesticides are not necessary since the bugs are not hurting the environment. Sarasota has a new mayor. The City Commission selecting Liz Alpert as mayor today. Alpert is succeeding Shelley Freeland Eddy. Current City Commissioner Jen Ahern Koch was picked as the vice mayor. A Florida man is being fined $120 million for a massive robocall scam, the FTC calling it one of the biggest and most dangerous illegal robocalling campaigns it has ever seen. That's just one of the many companies out there scamming callers. The commission has no idea how often these scam callers are happening, but they receive at least 400,000 complaints every month, and the numbers are on the rise.
If people would stop picking up the phone every time they saw a number that they did not recognize, that would be the death knell to the whole robocall industry.
The Federal Trade Commission says there are 4 steps you should take: register, hang up, report and block, register for the Do Not Call list, and donotcall.gov. Hang up if you answer the call before the case, and block spam calls through a cell phone app. Police are looking for the suspect involved in an early morning shooting in Newtown. One man is in the hospital after being shot on Martin Luther King Jr. Highway and Pershing Avenue around 1:30 this morning. The victim has not been identified, but police say he was hit by a bullet while standing outside. Right now, he is at Sarasota Memorial Hospital recovering from non-life-threatening injuries. The shooter remains on the loose. About a mile down the road, there was another shooting. Hours later, 2 suspects shot a man twice in the leg near a home on 20th Street in Sarasota. The man is expected to recover. Both shooters remain at large. The video you see on your screen has just been released of the suspect's vehicle. Police believe was involved. The woman who escaped from the Bradenton Bridge facility nearly a week ago is now back in custody. Deputies say Silver Bean was arrested this morning in Palm Beach County, where she was originally charged with cocaine possession. Bean now faces additional charges for the escape. And there was more than 9,500 motorcycle accidents on Florida roads last year, along with over 6,000 bicycle crashes. Of those, 611 resulted in fatalities. Florida's warmer weather means there are always a lot of bikes on the road, and the number goes up as summer approaches. The state consistently is among the highest number of bike accidents in the entire country.
As the weather gets more beautiful, as more people are out, we want everyone to enjoy that. We want our bicycles to be able to ride and enjoy the weather. We want our pedestrians to be able to walk and be safe. And we want our big trucks and our motor vehicles to all follow the rules of the road, follow Florida law, and arrive alive this summer.
The Cool says bikers and cyclists need to do their part as well by following laws that don't allow lane sharing or weaving in and out of traffic. And still to come, with a White House aide allegedly joking about Senator John McCain dying, where does the White House go from here?
Thanks to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, what was once impossible is happening today for thousands of patients with blood cancer.
I live.
I live. I live. I live.
I live.
She lives.
Because of the research done by the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in the battle against blood cancer.
If you had a chance to support the research that is saving lives, what would you do?
I actually started playing the game at 11 years old, so I started a little bit later than most players. But I was actually raised on Fighting Joe. The value here at Robert Trent Jones is unsurpassable. I mean, I have looked to other places. I've traveled all the way across the country. Everything is perfect as far as everything is the golf course, the rolling of the greens. Everything that I've encountered has just been absolutely incredible. And for the money that you spend, for the value that you actually get, it is unsurpassable. I'd recommend it for anybody.
Selfless service is the principle that guides Army National Guard soldiers to be ready whenever disaster strikes. They have a stake in the well-being of the neighborhoods where they live and work. They train part-time to be ready to serve at all times. Selfless service. It's what inspires the men and women of the Army National Guard to be part of something greater than themselves. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more.
My life motto is keep moving. And as hard as it was when my husband passed away, I knew I had to keep doing what I love. Oops, coming. But I needed help with my insurance, and that's what the NAIC provides. They have resources to help you and your family make the best decision, and they'll help you to keep moving forward, just like me.
WWSB ABC7 is an equal opportunity employer, and we're looking for qualified people to join our dynamic team. For a list of current openings and to apply online, visit www.mysuncoast.com/contact/employment. If you're a motivated team player and you want a rewarding career in a fun, fast-paced working environment, WWSB ABC7 could be the perfect fit for you. Check out our list of openings now. Check out mysuncoast.com/dining, your guide to the foodie lifestyle.
You got to give them their due. The Trump White House really knows how to step on its own accomplishments. In a week where the president rightly basked in bringing the American hostages home from North Korea and setting a date for a summit, one of his aides makes a repulsive joke about a dying American hero. Tom Foreman reports.
Reprehensible, inexcusable, shame on you, resign. Outrage is swirling around White House aide Kelly Sadler on Twitter after she dismissed Senator John McCain's opposition to President Trump's CIA nominee by mocking his grave illness. He's dying anyway. His wife, Cindy, may I remind you, my husband has a family, 7 children and 5 grandchildren. His daughter, Megan,
I don't understand what kind of environment you're working in when that would be acceptable, and then you can come to work the next day and still have a job.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say.
The White House hasn't publicly said there is anything wrong with this, though the aide apologized to the senator's family and in a statement said, "We respect Senator McCain's service to our nation, and he and his family are in our prayers." But not a word publicly from the president himself, who has never hesitated to go after McCain and has never apologized for taunting the decorated veteran and former prisoner of war during the campaign.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Complicating the issue, on Fox Business, a former Air Force lieutenant general who endorsed Trump, repeating a debunked claim that McCain gave information to his North Vietnamese captors when they tortured him.
Well, the fact is John McCain, it worked on John. That's why they call him Songbird John.
Fox says they won't have that general on again, but the bipartisan uproar keeps raging. Former Democratic Vice President Joe Biden says the Trump administration has hit rock bottom. Republican Speaker of the House Paul Ryan.
Look, John McCain's a hero, no two ways about it.
McCain has criticized Trump's leadership, his policies, and he cast the deciding vote to stop a repeal of Obamacare. Among his many maverick moves, his family and fans say will far outlast his critics.
My father's legacy is going to be talked about for hundreds and hundreds of years. These people, nothing burgers.
Nothing.
Nobody's gonna remember you.
In the moment, the Democrat whose district winds its way from Sarasota to St. Pete, the Republican who dreams of joining the fray in Washington, and the man who literally wrote the book about close presidential elections, the one and the only trapezoid, is next.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
Hi, I'm Chef Bob. Watch Aprons in the Kitchen every Wednesday morning on ABC7, where we'll be serving up the most awesome dishes. Then stop by your neighborhood Publix, pick up the recipe card and all the ingredients.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Every time you purchase a fishing license or register your boat, you're helping to preserve our nation's coastlines, lakes, rivers, and streams, protecting memories for generations to come. Learn how your participation in boating and fishing can help the environment at takemefishing.org/conservation.
We're visiting the Southeastern Guide Dog Campus to see how these tiny puppies get trained to become life-changing dogs.
I have to give him direction and give him commands, and he knows about 40 of them.
Join us this week on ABC7.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
Welcome back. On one hand, it was the kind of week President Trump wants you to see. He basked and beamed in the glory of bringing American hostages in North Korea home. The date and place has been set for his historic summit with Kim Jong-un, and he ripped up and backed out of the Iranian nuclear deal, which his base loves. But there's always on the other hand, isn't there? Even the president's own defense secretary says the Iranians were complying with the deal, which means we're the ones now in violation of it. The Iranians shout the U.S. can't be trusted, and that's the message you want to send to North Korea, isn't it? Some of our own allies, like France, are condemning us. And by the way, reports this week the president's former attorney, Michael Cohen, has been taking hundreds of thousands of dollars from a company associated with a Putin crony. Vice President Pence urges the special counsel to end the probe into Russian interference. And if that's not enough, a White House aide cracks a joke about the dying Senator John McCain, who is battling brain cancer. Joining us for more will be State Representative Wenge Newton, whose district winds all the way from St. Pete to Sarasota. He'll join us in a moment. Traffic. State Senator Greg Steube, whose district doesn't. And Mark Weston, the author of this great book, Prophets and Princes, which touches on the Middle East and Iran and Saudi Arabia, and very, very timely. And but let's start with what's happening with that comment from a White House aide about Senator McCain, who, as we all know, is battling brain cancer. The senator's daughter was on The View this morning, which she hosts, and she responded this way.
Whatever you want to say in this kind of environment, the thing that surprises me most is, I was talking about this with you, Joy, that I don't understand what kind of environment you're working in when that would be acceptable, and then you can come to work the next day and still have a job. Yeah. And that's all I have to say about it.
And also, right, I want to.
Senator, why does this woman still have a job?
Well, that I can't answer. I don't know, but I would completely agree that her comments were completely inappropriate. John McCain's a hero. Being a service member and somebody that served, I looked up to him throughout my military career, and I think he's somebody.
And that's not to say necessarily that you agree with him on every issue.
No, I don't agree with him on Obamacare. I don't agree with him on not voting for the CIA director. There are a lot of things I don't agree with him on, but that doesn't mean I don't respect him as a warrior and somebody that served our country. And I certainly think that he deserves a lot of respect for not just the service to his country and our country as a military man, but in his elected career.
But as you know, the president himself has criticized John McCain in a lot of different ways, including taking issue about whether or not he's really a hero because he was caught. Does he set a tone in which an aide can make a bad joke like that?
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's ever appropriate, whatever the circumstances was, to say something like that. I don't know what type of tone there is in the White House. I'm not there. But I think it's important that there's a lot of, you heard what Paul Ryan said about his opinion on Senator McCain. I voiced what my opinion is. And obviously, a lot of Republicans have a lot of respect for what he's done. And a lot of people on both sides of the aisle have a lot of respect for what he's done.
On the other hand, the White House put out a statement late yesterday, but Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asked about this today at the White House briefing, and this is what she said.
Certainly, there is not a tone set here. We have a respect for all Americans, and that is what we try to put forward in everything we do, both in word and in action.
We're not talking about all Americans, Mark. We're talking about one American who's a United States Senator suffering from brain cancer and who gave up years of his life in a Vietnamese prison camp.
I think Kelly Sadler should go find another job. You could make an argument that young people do foolish things. This was an internal meeting. If you're going to say that she shouldn't lose her job because of a tactless thing she said in an internal meeting, she should at least have held a press conference with a public apology. I don't think a simple phone call to Meghan McCain is enough. She should be out there on TV apologizing. And the fact that President Trump and Sarah Huckabee Sanders have not demanded this of her does set a tone.
Senator, what gets a lot of people, especially a lot of Republicans, basically shaking their heads is this comes in a week where the president brought home those hostages from North Korea, announced the time and place of that summit. This is a week which was, by all accounts, you have Democrats congratulating the president on this, and the problem is, isn't the White House stepping on its own good news?
Well, I mean, that's what the press is focusing on. I mean, it's
because the comment was outrageous
by some staffer that none of us have ever heard this person's name before. And I think she did do an apology, a written apology, and she made a mistake. I don't condone what she said at all, but I think if the press wanted to focus on all of those things that you just said, I mean,
which the press has, and the media has been nonstop in its coverage of those hostages coming home and the date set for the summit, but then you have this.
Yeah, and I think that it's unfortunate that it happened like this, but I think you need to focus on the things that are positive that the Trump administration have done. Obama never had hostages come back from North Korea. Obama never had a date set to meet with Kim Jong-un. I mean, there was never these things that Trump has done and been able to bring these type of people to the table to have a negotiation and talk about a real strategy moving forward.
Mark, fair enough?
No, it's very wonderful that these 3 prisoners have come home from North Korea, but it's for show. It was a gesture. It's cosmetic. The negotiations with Kim Jong-un have not yet begun, so there's been nothing substantive involved with North Korea yet. On the other hand,
good news.
It's good news, but at the same time, if you're comparing the Obama administration and the Trump administration, Iran gave up 97% of its enriched uranium to foreign countries. Iran destroyed 80% of its centrifuges, and yet this is called a horrible deal. But we bring 3 prisoners home from North Korea, and they want to give them the Nobel Peace Prize.
Guess what? We're talking about the Iran deal next.
I know.
We are just getting warmed up, and we'll have much more in the week in Washington right after we check the first alert weather. Stay with us.
Since 1972, Sleep King has provided quality mattresses and accessories at the best discounted prices available. Top brands like Simmons, Sealy, Serta, Beauty Rest, Eye Comfort, and more. With available free delivery, free financing, and free setup and removal. For a comfortable night's sleep with same-day delivery, even if we have to carry it on our backs. Trust Sleep King of Sarasota. Buy it today, sleep on it tonight.
We are problem solvers striving for answers. Relevancy on every platform. We are driven to create content that's compelling, engaging, where it matters. We are neighbors that care about solutions, believers in making a difference, leaders, innovating in an exciting era of multimedia, reaching to always be the gold standard in our evolving landscape. We are Raycom Media. Find your opportunity today.
According to a new survey by U.S. News & World Report, 3 of Alabama's top 4 hotels and resorts are part of the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail Resort Collection. The Grand Hotel Marriott Resort in Point Clear, the Battle House Renaissance Mobile Hotel and Spa, and the Renaissance Birmingham Ross Bridge Golf Resort and Spa. Hey, we didn't invent Southern hospitality, we just offer more of it. Visit rtjgolf.com/resorts to find out more.
A decade of war has taken an unprecedented toll on our men and women in uniform.
Hundreds of thousands of our veterans are suffering from the trauma of war.
At Justice for Vets, we believe that every veteran should have the opportunity for treatment and restoration.
Get involved and go to justiceforvets.org.
Help put treatment within reach of veterans in crisis.
Veterans fought for our freedom. Now it's our turn to fight for theirs.
I'll be right back. Hi! You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
Welcome back. We are talking about the week in Washington and coming up in the moment, but first we're going to get a check on our AccuWeather from Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. Right now we're watching the clouds move in this afternoon. We had some sunshine around today. We tied a record high today, 90, above 90 again. Casey Key webcam showing, though, quite a bit of clouds around, and that's in advance of a storm system, which is going to bring some big changes our way, especially on Sunday. Now, Saturday, we'll look to see the clouds stick around. It won't be the best of beach days, but we'll see some breaks in them once in a while, but not a lot of rain on Saturday. But then the showers and even a few thunderstorms start to move in on Sunday. The timing of it now looks to be in the afternoon and evening. Although there could be a few showers in the morning on Sunday, it looks like the heavier rainfall will be here later in the day. And then it sticks around a while. In fact, this low pressure system is disassociated with the main flow from west to east across the U.S., and that means it's going to just kind of meander in the Gulf of Mexico for a while, eventually drifting northward through Tuesday. So expect a good deal of rainfall, something we need to help with our high fire danger here along the west coast of Florida. We have 2 players coming into effect right now. What we have is, again, high pressure has been dominating our weather, and low pressure area is going to move from the Gulf of Mexico here to eventually shifting right over and near us in the eastern portion of the Gulf of Mexico. On top of that, we have a trough of low pressure down here, a little line of low pressure, if you will, and this line is going to be moving also into the north. Now, that won't happen, though, until Sunday, as I mentioned. So Sunday appears to be the worst of the days here for Mother's Day weekend. Well, you can see on Saturday it doesn't depict any rainfall around, at least this model, showing relatively dry conditions. But you'll notice this batch of moisture heading northward, and then this area out here in the Gulf of Mexico also kind of converging right into the East Gulf, and it will stick around, as I said, for a while. Boy, a lot of tropical moisture down here into the Keys and the Florida Straits on Saturday, not really reaching us until Sunday. And it looks like the dry air that had been in place for the past week now and all the great beach weather we had is going to say bye-bye as the high-pressure ridge that's been dominating our weather shifts off to the east now. And that's fairly well documented by all the forecast models. Winds out of the east now across the region, anywhere from 5 to 10 miles an hour, a little higher in places like Port Charlotte and Northport, but that easterly wind is coming down a little bit. So boaters not too bad tomorrow. Really, boating should not be all that bad. 82 degrees. The humidity slowly coming back up now, 65%. I mentioned the high temperature today. It was a warm one, 92 degrees. That tied the record 92 set back in 2012. And as far as tomorrow's forecast goes, as I mentioned, a lot of clouds around. Not much rainfall. There's a 20% chance for a shower or two. It looks as though if we get anything, it shouldn't be all that heavy. This is another forecast model depicting the timing of the storms. This one a little slower than the earlier one. It shows the rain moving in after noon, and some of that rain heavy at times. You can see some of the yellows popping up now and again. That would indicate some thunderstorms. That low pressure area, as I mentioned, still there on Monday, still bringing that tropical moisture into the coast. So keep the umbrellas handy right through Tuesday. And in fact, it looks like this is going to leave behind a trail of moisture. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday will also get a chance for some scattered showers, at least. I think more widespread showers on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. East wind for boaters looks good. Seas running 2 feet or less. A light chop out there on bays and inland waters. The forecast for the next 7 days looks like this. 86, a little bit cooler tomorrow because of the cloud cover, and cooler still on Sunday, upper 70s. Lots of showers and storms, mainly in the afternoon and evening. It stays around Sunday night. Monday, even into Tuesday, the rain chance is elevated at 60%. Then we'll look for scattered showers and storms through much of the rest of the work week next week. Al will be back right after this. Stick around.
I'm calling in regards about my mother, and I'm here, and I just want to thank you because it saved my mother's life yesterday. And I'd like to know the names of the people that came in and saved her so I could call and thank them. And she's doing fine. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
When you fall and cannot get up, an accident can turn into a tragedy. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
Life Alert saves a person from a catastrophe every 10 minutes.
Life Alert is a lifesaver. If it weren't for Life Alert, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-652-3012. That's 1-800-652-3012. Call now, 1-800-652-3012. For a free brochure, call 1-800-652-3012.
My credit score was not that great.
I didn't understand what went into my credit score.
It was overwhelming.
Do you want to attain better credit health but don't know where to start? Credit Sesame can help by providing you a free credit score.
I love the app. It's so easy to use. It's like having your own financial coach.
Credit Sesame broke my credit score down into things that I understood, and it made me think, I can do this.
And the awesome thing about Credit Sesame, it's free.
It's 100% free. You don't need to go it alone. Get started today at creditsesame.com.
Everybody can make something, because I think everyone has a spark of creativity, and the reason that I have to keep making is because I don't think my life would be as fulfilling without it. If you make things yourself, that means you're not cowering in fear. You're out there taking chances. That, I think, is my way of saying I love you to the world. All right, now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard live up to a set of time-honored principles.
I will always place the mission first.
They stand ready to respond to any crisis.
I will never accept defeat.
They serve in their communities as citizens and as soldiers.
I will never quit.
They train part-time to be ready to serve at all times.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
Learn more at nationalguard.com.
Welcome back. We are talking about the week in Washington, and joining us for more are State Representative Wenge Newton, whose district winds all the way from St. Pete to Sarasota, State Senator Greg Steube, whose district doesn't, and Mark Weston, the author of the runner-up presidency. And Wenge, we're going to welcome you to what we affectionately call the trapezoid, and we're really glad that you can make it. And we want to start by talking about the Iranian nuclear deal, which the president ripped up this week, and I'm wondering what your impression of that is.
Well, I mean, if you look at the anything that good came out of it, he was able to I guess, try to get an image of working nationally or worldwide with different allies that we have around the world. The Iran deal in itself is, you have to be careful because that other allies would not want to do a deal with the U.S. if they don't honor what they signed and agreed upon.
Well, that's an interesting point. And Senator, I mean, what does that say to North Korea, who we're about to talk to about nuclear, getting rid of their nuclear weapons, when the Iranians can rightly say you can't trust America to stick with its
Well, you
deals.
can't trust the Iranians. I mean, the Israeli prime minister was on there giving a presentation last week or the week before about all the lies that the Iranians had had. And I think doing away with the Iran deal was a great step for the president. Israel wholeheartedly supports that measure.
But our own defense secretary, our own CIA director says that Iran was complying with the deal.
Well, I'll tell you this, it's kind of a personal thing for me. When I served in Iraq, a lot of the IEDs that blew up my brothers and sisters in arms came from Iran, were funded in Iran, were made in Iran, and came to Iraq to attack our service members. So I think we need to take a very strong position against Iran. I think Trump is doing that, and I fully support what he's doing in that. And I think with Israel, one of our strongest allies over there, we need to make sure that we support them and do the things that they need to be successful.
But that Iran deal was never meant to deal with the other bad things that Iran does. That could be negotiated or dealt with separately. It was to prevent them from getting a
And we gave them $150 billion that was then used to fund terrorism all over the world.
It was $80 billion.
To Hezbollah, to...
And also the large percentage of that money was interest. It was their own money.
It was mostly Iran's money that we had impounded.
Yes.
So as part of this agreement, we unimpounded the money. It was $80 billion, $20 billion from the Chinese, and it was their money. It was their money all
that they've
along.
used now to fund terrorism.
That may be,
the missiles that were fired from Syria by Iran into Israel were funded by those
One of
monies.
the top Republican objections to the Iranian deal is that it only covered nuclear weapons, didn't cover what was going on in Syria or Iraq.
Right.
But we had many nuclear agreements with the Soviet Union where we weren't telling them what they had to do in Poland or East Germany. This was agreement for nuclear weapons, not for everything. Another objection was that it only, if you wanted to go to a military base, you had to give 24 days of notice. But radioactivity can be detected for centuries. It's not as if you could just move furniture.
On the other hand, Mark, this was a promise that the president made when he was running for office, and it was a promise that was kept, and his supporters could not be happier.
He also made a promise that he built a wall and Mexico would pay for it.
He's working on
wall
it.
Yet,
He's still working on it.
Okay.
Here's the crazy thing about tearing up this deal. Another Republican objection is that it lasts 15 years. We still have 12 years to go, and then they're free to build a bomb. It would be nice to eternally ban them from building nuclear weapons, but 12 years is a long time. By scrapping this deal, Iran can now start work on building a bomb and have a bomb next year instead of 12 years from now. So then if they have a bomb, what do? We go to war. Iran is the size of the American South, and it's mountainous. The idea that we can get every nuclear facility is naive, but let's assume we do. Let's assume that we go to war and totally wipe out Iran's nuclear program. They can build it back in 3 or 4 years. So the agreement that's just been scrapped was more effective than a total military victory.
In terms of people's pocketbooks and their wallets, USA just reported today that gas prices can be cutting into the tax cut advantage that Americans have gotten from the tax plan that just was passed in December. Senator, are you concerned about that?
Gas prices go up for all sorts of different reasons, all times of the year, depending on the use. And if it's summertime and more people are traveling, we get gas and oil from all over the country, not just from that
But Iran's ability to now sell its oil into the market, doesn't it not result in a greater supply, which keeps the cost down?
Yeah, if they did that, yeah. But so does OPEC, and so does some of the our abilities here in the United States to produce more
Trump
oil.
and Netanyahu have been saying they want stricter sanctions on Iran. That means somehow getting the Europeans and the Chinese and Indians to agree not to buy Iranian oil. It's not going to happen. But if they do agree not to buy Iranian oil, you're right. There's less oil on the market, and the price of gasoline goes up quite a bit.
The other big national news this week was someone leaked Michael Cohen's bank records, which is now being investigated by the Justice Department. But Wenge, still, it shows that the president's personal attorney, in the months after the election, after the president went to the White House, was taking a lot of money from a lot of people, including a company that is backed by a Russian oligarch, a friend of Vladimir Putin's.
Right. Well, that was a problem all through the election, his relationship and what was happening behind the scenes with the Russians. And now that you're finding all of the breadcrumbs, if you will, and looking at money, because money don't lie. People lie, but money don't lie. You can follow the trails of what actually happened, and I think it's going to be worse than we're seeing now.
There's no evidence whatsoever that we have seen that Trump colluded with the Russians. None. And Michael Cohen has other clients. Who knows what he was doing? And I also think it's interesting that the same Justice Department is now leaking documents in their own investigation.
Well, let me ask you this. How do you know there's no evidence of collusion? I mean,
because there hasn't been any.
The House Trump says so.
No. The House has done an investigation. They just closed it.
Hold on one second. House investigation. You're talking about House Republicans,
correct,
shutting down an investigation.
Bipartisan committee.
There was nothing.
The Democrats wrote an alternate report and objected to the Republicans' findings.
Tom Rooney, who you're hoping to replace in the United States Congress,
said that the committee should be shut down and the investigation should be shut down.
That the House investigation has no credibility because it simply became a totally partisan affair on both sides. But the question I wanted to ask you, as an attorney. Prosecutors don't tell you what evidence they have during the course of an investigation. They tell you when they indict, don't they not?
Well, it depends on what investigation they're doing. I mean, as an attorney, I think the attorney-client privilege is a pretty strong privilege that has completely been blown away in this.
I'm talking about the Mueller investigation and whether or not Mueller has found evidence of collusion.
Has he? I mean, if he has, that hasn't been made
Let's just
public.
look at the evidence that's out there. Michael Flynn has colluded with the Russians. Michael Cohen has colluded with the Russians. Papadopoulos has colluded with the Russians. They have financial dealings with the Russians. If they're not, the dealings are not with Britain or Germany or Italy. They're all the dealings seem to be with Russia.
Yeah, but Mark, the Michael Flynn had contacts with the Russians. Michael Cohen had contact with the Russians. So did Donald Trump Jr. But that doesn't mean that there was a quid pro quo in terms of help with the election.
Okay, that we don't know yet, but there's a lot of financial dealings with the Russians. There's a lot of tax returns that we haven't been able to see yet. And we do know that $500,000 of Victor Vekselberg's money went into the exact same account that paid Stormy Daniels $130,000.
With that, Wenge, for the last year or so, the Democrats have had a tremendous lead in the generic ballot. Who voters want to see control Congress in the next session in November. A new poll came out this week showing that the Democratic advantage is down to 4 points. With all this going on, why is that?
Well, I would say you're getting distractions. Say you have something about we're making inways on Russia because they're indicting all these people that surround the president, and then you come up with something else that he'll shift the narrative, and then people all over the place. But and what I've seen from the Enough is Enough movement with these young people that came to Tallahassee in the thousands. I mean, they're going to register and they're going to vote. I don't think the polls are reflective of what that's going to do. That's going to be huge, and the voters.
Greg, I wanted to give you the last word here.
Well, it's clearly not a blue wave. It's a blue dribble. I mean, you're seeing through, and it's a long time between now and the midterms. You have Trump that's doing things that Obama never did. He's bringing back hostages from North Korea. He's sitting down with the leader of North Korea and trying to have a deal with them. And he's doing the things that he promised he would do.
I think Obama found bin Laden when nobody else could, and so he did do some things.
All right, we have to take a quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts when we return.
I heard about the Dotoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Dotoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was. I can tell you that you will not find a finer, more professional team of clinicians anywhere in the world.
Rugs as Art. You know the name, you know the building, but do you know what's inside? Yes, Rugs as Art is Florida's #1 area rug superstore. But there is so much more. Amazing furniture, accessories, and art. All this and more. Come see for yourself. You'll love our personal touch and be pleasantly surprised by our affordable prices. Rugs as Art and more. There is so much more to explore.
So I kind of grew up all across the country. I come from 5 generations of military men. My dad is still active duty. My grandpa is retired Marines. I like going for runs with my dog. I love, taking her out to the dog beach over in Venice. There are so many things here to do on the Suncoast. My goal every day when I come into work at ABC7 is to tell your stories, give you that major local news and those details that you really care about. I'm Jacqueline Matter, and I'm here for you.
This Mother's Day, show a little imagination. How about giving her a relaxing visit to the spa, or an evening out at a fine restaurant, or a weekend getaway at one of our luxurious world-class resorts? You'll find these gifts and more at rtjgolf.com. RTJ gift cards and resort cards are easy to wrap and never go out of style. So whether it's a great meal, or a day at the spa, or a weekend to remember, you'll find it at rtjgolf.com/gift cards.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
And our guests join us right now for final thoughts. So picking up on that conversation about where we are at going into the midterms, Mark, you have covered a lot of national politics, and you know, for instance, in 2010 when the Republicans took over Congress, during that campaign, it was the Tea Party movement, the backlash to Obamacare. The Republicans weren't proposing anything. They just basically sat back. Is that the same thing that the Democrats are trying to do right now?
Possibly. There's 2 prior elections I think you can look at that will tell us a few things. One in 1932, when it was Roosevelt against Herbert Hoover, and there was 25% unemployment and breadlines. 39% of the country still voted Republican. So you have a very large base that's going to vote Republican no matter what. But I think you're right. The Democrats, being the opposition party now, don't necessarily have to say we're for this and we're for this and this is our plan. In 1946, when the Republicans were opposing Harry Truman, they had a 2-word slogan, had enough. And the Democrats could easily do that this fall.
But Wengate, there's an axiom that if your opponent is self-destructing, the best thing to do is just basically stand by and not do anything. You have the Russia investigation that is going to go one way or another. But I keep on asking every Democrat who joins us on the trapezoid, what is the Democrats' message this fall? And I can't really get a real answer.
Well, you really don't need a message. You look at all the missteps and the things that have happened in this administration, and you'll see that it was first repeal Obamacare, it was replace Obamacare, it's now just leave Obamacare alone, and look how many people that would suffer, even in the Republican districts, that if they don't have health care for people that's there. So,
but how does that make the argument that Democrats should lead?
It's not making an argument that they should lead. It's just showing that the leadership is not comfortable in trying to provide health care nationwide for all the people that need it. Here in Florida, we have 800,000 people that don't have health care because the leadership in the Capitol don't want to give it to them.
Democrats could say Trump promised to revive the Rust Belt, and the only thing he's done so far is lower taxes for the rich.
Correct.
But I have not heard that consistent message from any national Democrat or even local Democrat. Senator, let me ask you this. I mean, you may, or the Vice President this week asked the special counsel to end the investigation. But as a lawyer, you know prosecutors end their investigations when they don't listen to outside folks who wish them to do that. Are you concerned that there could be other indictments and other moves, the issue about whether or not the president testifies before the grand jury, as we get closer to Election Day?
Look, you've got a historic tax cut that was passed by Trump during this
I don't see
administration.
too many Republicans campaigning on that.
Okay, well, let's say the average salary for a family of four in the state of Florida is $61,000 a year. Next year, their tax bill is going to go from $1,900 a year down to $94 a year. So how is that not a tax cut to the middle class and the working class?
Oh wait, we have one Republican campaigning on it. So we got to end it there. But before we go, we want to share with you what some of you had to say about last night's show on the lawsuit against Disney getting dropped. IT workers that worked at Disney were told that they were going to be replaced by foreign workers, and they were going to have to train them if they wanted their severance. We went to Facebook for your thoughts. The workers sued, but they've been forced to drop their case. Kevin says, if what Disney did really ticked you off, even when it is legal and you wanted retribution, don't buy their movies. Don't watch ESPN, and don't go to their parks. Marty says, which brings us to the next fact. No matter how ticked off the public is, they will not inconvenience themselves by denying themselves movies, ESPN, or visit the parks. And then there's Marty. Marty says, forced to give up, no laws broken, so no case, poor research by attorney, but they got their publicity. Really, Marty? Let me tell you something about that attorney. At least Sarah Blackwell tried putting American workers first. America first. Where have I heard that before? Oh yeah, at Trump rallies, where the Disney lawsuit got the attention of candidate Donald Trump, who promised to change the law. Sarah Blackwell and the former Disney workers endorsed him. They spoke at Trump rallies. They encouraged people to vote for him. Trump won and did nothing. And he's not alone. Bill Nelson promised to push the issue in the Senate. He didn't. Florida Senator Marco Rubio was MIA on this issue from the get-go. But for all the talk about protecting American jobs, yeah, America first, catchy slogan, you got to take a shot at the lawyer who actually tried to, well, that's really making America great again. If you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. We want to thank our guests for being here tonight, State Representative Wenge Newton, State Senator Greg Steube, and Mark Weston, the author of The Runner-Up Presidency. When we return, we'll have a final look at your first alert weather. Plus, President Trump reveals his plan to lower drug prices. So stay with us.
Experience the Classical Music Celebration May 11th and 12th at the historic Sarasota Opera House. World-class musicians include guitar duo Charisma, currently touring with Andrea Bocelli. Tickets available online or by phone.
Many websites selling medication may look professional and legitimate, but the vast majority of sites selling prescription drugs are doing so illegally. Criminals use websites to sell counterfeit medications that may contain life-threatening toxins. Dot Pharmacy is a website verification program that helps you identify safe and trustworthy online pharmacies. Purchasing medicine online can be safe and easy. Just look for pharmacy to the right of the dot in website addresses.
They are the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. But what does it take to bridge the distance and keep them connected to family, home, and country? What does it take to strengthen our service members so they can be the greatest force for good in the world? It takes a force. Be a force behind the forces. Give today at force.uso.org.
Here's today's job of the day. ABC7 is seeking a part-time media controller to manage various stages of video on-air content playout. General computer skills are an absolute must. Visit mysuncoast.com/job of the day to apply.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get a final check on our first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. As we enter into the weekend, it looks as though we are going to see increasing chances for showers and even a few thunderstorms, but it looks like the first half should be salvageable. We're not going to see a washout on Saturday, but Sunday, different story. By midday and late in the day, we could get quite a bit of rainfall around here. A lot of clouds moving in advance of this storm system, moistening up the atmosphere. Now, it's been a relatively dry week as far as the atmosphere goes, but things are starting to change just a little bit. We had a lot of rain down south all week into Cuba, also near the Keys, and you can see a large cluster of showers out here southwest of our immediate coast. It's running into dry air, so it's not going to have a much chance of bringing us any rainfall on Saturday, as it will stay to our south. And really, it looks like most of the heavier showers and storms will stay well to our south on Saturday. You can see that little line of low pressure now exists down in the Florida Straits. All that's going to kind of converge right over the East Gulf of Mexico on Sunday. So for the time being, Saturday looks to be a little bit cloudy. There'll be some breaks in the clouds occasionally, but we'll warm up into the mid-80s, some upper 80s inland. And then the showers and storms are expected to make an advance toward the northwest as the high pressure ridge moves off into the Atlantic. Winds whip around more to a southeasterly direction, and that brings everything into play. We also have this low pressure area out here. This is an upper level low, which is also moving in an easterly direction. It should be right there by the west coast of Florida on Sunday. It'll stick around Monday, drift northward on Tuesday, but still close enough to bring us a chance for some shower activity. We are in the moderate range as far as the pollutant goes today. I think the atmosphere will be cleaned up by Sunday evening. As far as winds go, they'll be out of the east, and they'll stay that way throughout the overnight hours, although we have a little west coast sea breeze, not much, at Siesta Key at 3 miles an hour. But down to our south, Northport at 10, Warm Mineral Springs at 8 miles an hour, and at Manasota Beach, it's coming out of the west. So it has developed there, a little breeze coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. Even at the airport, we have a 10-mile-an-hour wind. Winds are a big factor in determining what kind of weather we're going to see. They're going to switch around to a southeast on Sunday, and that will really start to moisten things up. Our high today, 92 degrees. We've cooled down 10 degrees since then, tied a record. The forecast, this is another forecast model, showing and suggesting from Sunday, most of the morning should be okay. We're going to see clouds around, some showers occasionally scattered about on Sunday morning. The best chance for heavy rainfall, more widespread rain, begins Sunday afternoon and evening as the low gets closer to us and the atmosphere really starts to moisten up more so. And then, as I mentioned, it sticks around even through Monday and Tuesday. As you see that low kind of, it's a rather large low, so it's not going to be intense in terms of heavy weather, in terms of severe storms. No, I don't think so. Also, the winds won't be all that strong associated with it, and then it kind of meanders off toward the panhandle of Florida. Some models keep it a little bit closer to our coast, so we're going to keep the rain chances high right through Tuesday, and they'll still stay pretty high on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. East wind for boaters tomorrow, not bad. Some clouds around. Seas running 1 to 2 feet with a light chop on the bays and inland waters. The 7-day forecast checks in like this then. Mother's Day, unfortunately, it's not going to be the best day to get outside and enjoy it, but we will see some breaks in the morning. Showers and storms stick around Monday. Still a 60% chance on Tuesday, and then it tapers off just a little bit on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Primetime headlines is next. Stick around.
Since 2004, Embracing Our Differences has used the power of art and education to promote diversity. One way it accomplishes this is through its annual outdoor exhibition of 45 billboard-sized works of art, each accompanied by an inspirational quote. Join us in creating a community that is inclusive for all, where differences are embraced and individuality is celebrated. We invite you to celebrate the voices and visions of diversity and inclusion at this year's exhibit at Sarasota's Island Park.
My credit score was not that great.
I didn't understand what went into my credit score.
It was overwhelming.
Do you want to attain better credit health but don't know where to start? Credit Sesame can help by providing you a free credit score.
I love the app. It's so easy to use. It's like having your own financial coach.
Credit Sesame broke my credit score down into things that I understood, and it made me think, I can do this.
And the awesome thing about Credit Sesame, it's free.
It's 100% free.
You don't need to go it alone. Get started today at creditsesame.com.
I used to dread getting up and going to work.
I was done with the corporate grind.
I was tired of being a starving artist.
And I started looking around for a business that I believed in, and I kind of wanted to do something a little more green.
My SCORE mentor helped me take the first step.
He helped me create a business plan and helped me implement it.
They've really taught me how to think big.
SCORE helped me to make the unimaginable possible.
All for free. I'm here because of SCORE.
I'm here because of SCORE.
Get your free business mentor at score.org.
Don't allow your weight to threaten your health or control your future. Excess weight or obesity can cause emotional and physical health risks. But you can take control. The Your Weight Matters campaign offers free resources and tips to help you measure and understand your weight. Take the Your Weight Matters Challenge. The free toolkit prepares you to speak with a healthcare provider about your weight. Your weight does matter. Take the challenge and take control today.
Checking primetime headlines today, President Trump rolled out his plan to lower drug prices in the White House Rose Garden. Omar Jimenez has the details.
One of my greatest priorities is to reduce the price of prescription drugs.
This was President Trump at his 2018 State of the Union address. And now he says his disposition is no different.
The drug lobby is making an absolute fortune at the expense of American consumers.
By the numbers, the average person pays a little more than $1,000 a year for prescription drugs, more than any other high-income nation in the world. It's an amount that's nearly doubled since the 1990s. And some drugs that might require a lifelong prescription cost tens of thousands of dollars each month. Alex Azar, Secretary of Health and Human Services, appeared before a Senate Appropriations Committee Thursday and echoed some of the president's concerns.
Prescription drug costs in our country are simply too high. List prices are too high. Seniors in government programs are overpaying due to lack of negotiating tools.
Among the proposals in the administration's 2019 budget blueprint, giving insurers more negotiating power by requiring them to only cover one drug per category rather than two, evaluating the inclusion of prices in drug makers' ads to enhance price competition, and addressing intellectual property theft and, quote, foreign freeloading.
These reforms are just the beginning. In the coming weeks, we will work with Congress to pass legislation that will save Americans even more money at the pharmacy.
In Washington, I'm Omar Jimenez.
And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us and have a great weekend.